The year was 1591. There was a great Spanish conqueror by the name of Hernando Cortez. Hernando Cortez had a dream that he was going to do with an army that no other army did. So many armies came along to gain that incredible treasure that the world was talking about. There was this incredible treasure in Mexico, gold and silver and artifacts. So many conquerors came with their armies. So many. And so many failed. And none of the conquerors with their armies were able to breach and beat the Mexican army to conquer Mexico and its riches. But Cortez felt that he was different. He felt that his army, his hand-picked army of 2,000 men across 20 ships, were going to travel the seas. And they were going to make it to Mexico, and they were going to conquer her with all its wealth and all its glory. Cortez was so sure about it. And weeks at the high seas, he would continuously talk to his men, and he would draw the dreams of wealth and glamour, and how once they win this war and they conquer Mexico, they'd have enough money for themselves and their children for generations to come. They'd never have to work a day. He drew to them such a magnificent picture. He got them riled up to want that dream more than anything in life. And finally, they pulled into the shores of Mexico. And there, General Cortez, he lines his men up, all 2,000, and he turns them out all into a circle. And he looks at his men, each one in the eye. And he was about to give the speech of a lifetime, and the men knew it. They knew what was coming. They've been listening to the rhetoric for weeks at sea. Cortez looks at his men in the eye, and suddenly he says 3 words that changed everything. He looks at the men, and he says, "Gentlemen, listen closely. I want you to watch what's about to happen." He turns to his first in command, and he says to him, "Burn the ships." The commander says, "Excuse me, sir? What did you just say?" "I said, burn the ships. I want you to burn the ships in front of the eyes of the entire army." The commander went, and they torched all 20 ships. Cortez's men watched as their ships burnt in the harbor. At that moment, Hernando Cortez looks back at his army, man for man, eye for eye. And he says to them, "Gentlemen, now you have a choice. Either we fight or we die. It's your choice. There's no exit out of here but to fight." And at that moment, the men realized there's no other way out. They must fight to live. And Cortez told them, if we win this war, we'll be able to get out on the ships of the enemy. Otherwise, we die. And with that choice, with no way out, with their backs to the wall, suddenly the men found themselves a fight that they've never fought before. And Cortez's men went on to be the first army to conquer Mexico. And they won that battle. And we won an incredible concept. A concept that was predated way before Hernando Cortez. The Torah already told us, and it's actually a mitzvah that the Rambam brings, that when a Jewish army is to go and fight and conquer a city, never surround the city by all 4 sides. But when a Jewish army attacks a city, it always leaves one side of the city open, always giving the enemy an exit to run. Because the moment you have a way out of a situation, you never fight as hard. Says the Torah, don't surround them in all 4 sides, lest your enemy will fight you harder than they themselves even know. Give them a way out. They'll begin to fight. And when they see it's difficult, they'll take the exit out. It's from here we learned an incredible concept that when we find ourselves in life, in situations that there is no way out, suddenly we begin to fight like we never knew how. Suddenly we find strength and talent, creativity and power to be able to fight in ways that we didn't know was possible. And that was Klal Yisrael a year ago today. Do you remember last year? Do you remember what was going on at this time? Did you remember those 3 boys that were kidnapped in Israel and how it was all over the headlines of the papers? And how everybody was crying. And we knew there was no way out. We knew what we had to do. Our backs were to the wall. We knew we had to say Tehillim day and night. We knew on every Petichat HaEchal in Shul, we had to get the people moved to say Tehillim. We were davening day and night and day and night. Our backs were to the wall. Those 3 boys were kidnapped. We had to give it all we got. There wasn't a Jew in Israel that wasn't crying their hearts out and praying as strong as they could. We did more than we ever knew we could. And it didn't matter what type of Jew you were. Every Jew was moved a year ago. Black hat, white kippah, kippah sruga, Sfaradi, Ashkenazi. Didn't matter who you were, where you came from, or what your last name was. We knew we were in trouble, and we fought. And we lost those 3 boys. But those korbanot were an unbelievable Yeshua in the way that we won the war, the pending war of Klal Yisrael. And we found out about those tunnels. Those tunnels that were coming underground, that were being built and dug for years. Could have been a national calamity, a national catastrophe. Israel was in such danger, she didn't even know what was coming. But then we went to war because of those 3 boys. And we found the tunnels. And we won that war because we were davening day and night because there was no way out. And when you know you're in danger and you know there's no way out, you fight like you never fought before in your life. But that was last year. This year, everything's great. There's no wars going on. Nobody in harm's way. Everything's wonderful. Klal Yisrael is peachy. And we have yeshivot, and we have shuls, we have programs, we have beautiful organizations. We have so many chesed organizations. We have telephone books thick of gemachs. We have it all. So what's the Tisha B'Av about this year, Rabbi? And that's exactly what the king thought when Yirmiyahu Hanavi came to warn him years right before the Bet HaMikdash's destruction. Yirmiyahu Hanavi came to the king. And he said to the king, King, you have to do something. You have to do something about the people. Klal Yisrael, the Averot, they're sinning. The Bet HaMikdash, it's going to be destroyed. King, you got to do something. And the king said to Yirmiyahu Hanavi, Yirmiyahu, what are you talking about? Everything's great in Klal Yisrael. Sinning, yeah, okay, there's probably a few kids here and there, but the general public, Klal Yisrael, we're doing great. We have yeshivot, we have shuls, Sefer Torah dedications every Sunday. We're on a high. We've never been better. This is the pinnacle of the Jewish people. And Yirmiyahu said to the king, no, your majesty, on the outside, Klal Yisrael looks great. But on the inside, they're sinning behind closed doors. You got to do something about it fast. because of those averot behind closed doors. The Bet HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. You got to do something. And the king said to Yirmiyahu, behind closed doors, what are you talking about? And the king wouldn't listen until 300 arrows later, the king was killed. And as he was dying, he looked up at Yirmiyahu Navi, and he said to Yirmiyahu, you were right. I was wrong. They were sinning behind closed doors. Yirmiyahu, you were right. I didn't see this coming. And now it's too late. They were sinning behind closed doors. Ladies, Klal Yisrael today looks great. On the outside, you've never seen a sweeter picture. We're in a land of chesed, a land of democracy, the land that flows milk and money. We're in a place that is so good. We have yeshivot, and we have shuls, and we have schools. What don't we have? On the outside, on the outside it looks unbelievable. But like Yirmiyahu told the king, but what's going on behind closed doors? What's going on is killing us. We are losing our kids. We're losing our young men, our young women. We're losing our spouses. We're losing our families to social media. And the kidnapping is going on right now. But nobody knows it's a problem. You thought last year's kidnapping was a problem? Oh yeah, that one we felt because it was in the headlines. That one was out in the open, so everybody was up in arms. We were yelling, we were crying, we were screaming, we were saying Tehillim, we were giving tzedakah, we were getting soldiers' names to pray for name by name, soldier by soldier. Because that kidnapping we knew about, but there's a kidnapping going on right now, and it's hundreds, maybe thousands of our kids, our young men, our young ladies, our spouses, our families, that are getting completely overtaken by social media, and it's happening behind closed doors. And it's happening behind closed screens. And let me explain to you what I'm talking about. You see, ladies, on the way over here today, I had a tremendous inner debate. I wanted to walk in here like the regular Duvi Ben Shushan, get up like last year and the year before and just deliver a good Tisha B'Av speech. Maybe I can get you to cry a little bit. Maybe I can get you to feel a little bit. Maybe we can scream about Mashiach and Yeshuot of Klal Yisrael, and we'll go back to the Spanish Inquisition and we'll feel the Shema Yisrael before they jumped into the fires. And then we'll go to the Holocaust and we'll stand on line with that line of Hasidim as they sang Anima Amin, and they danced into the gas chambers. That was the speech I was thinking of giving today. And I was debating with myself up until that door. Do I tell you the speech that you want to hear, or do I tell you the truth? Do I tell you the speech that you need to hear? And Libi Amarli, Duv, tell him what's going on out there. Tell him the truth. It's Tisha B'Av, for heaven's sake. Let's cry about a destruction. A destruction of the Bayit, but not just the Bayit of the Bet HaMikdash. Let's cry today about the destruction of the Bayit, of the Jewish home, and the war that we are losing to social media. Let me explain to you where I'm coming from before you judge and jump. So here's a boy, he's 15 years old, who got into a little bit of a crazy mood like boys do. And one day he decides that he's going to go out to the barber and he takes this funky haircut. And he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. It's not nearly anything of what a Jewish kid should look like, no question. But he thought for the moment it was really cool. His friends got it. He wants it. Now he thinks he's cool. So he comes home. His mother takes one look at him and she gives such a yell that the neighbors come running down. And she says, "What in the world did you do to your hair?" "Oh, wait till your father comes home. He's going to shave you bald like the American eagle. Oh, you wait. You wait to see what's going to happen. And when you get to yeshiva tomorrow, oh, I could see already the frenzy. I'm waiting for the call from the principals and from the yeshiva. I bet they'll probably even throw you out because of that haircut." And the kid is like, humana. "Ma, it's just a haircut. It's cool. It's cool?" And she starts degrading him and bashing him. The kid says, "Hey, okay, fine." He goes up to his room. And you know what he does? He takes a picture of the haircut. He takes a pic of himself. A selfie. And then he puts it up online. And he gets within an hour 10,000 likes. He says, "Cool." And everyone's telling him online how cool he looks and how cool that haircut is. And the kid says to himself, "Whoa. At home, I'm a bag of problems to my parents. I'm a pending bomb in yeshiva to be thrown out. But online, I'm a rock star. Everybody thinks it's cool." Where do you think that kid is going? If this kid had to choose his worlds now, which world do you think he's going to chase? How easy that was. Like 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a mother in the Sephardic community, and she was crying. I said, what happened? She says, "My son." What happened with your son?" "Rabbi, he loves to play the electric guitar." I said, "Okay." I didn't want to admit when I was, maybe I shouldn't say this, I don't know. When I was 15, I played the electric guitar. I said, "Okay," so I didn't want to tell the mother that because then she'd hang up and call a different rabbi. So I said, "But what's the matter? What's the problem?" "No, Rabbi, you don't get it. He plays that guitar day and night. It's like he's married to that guitar." I said, "Okay, it's great. He has an outlet. He has something to really bring his talent out on. He must be musical. What's the matter?" "No, Rabbi, you don't get it. How's he going to make money? Where's his life going to go? He's going to be with that guitar day and night. He's never going to make anything out of himself. He's going to become one of those bums." I said, "Whoa, easy does it. You really think so? Let me talk to him." So I go and I call up the boy, as if I never spoke to his mother, as if I'm the Navi of the generation who knows who plays electric guitars, and because the mother said, "Don't you dare tell my son that I told." I don't know how they expect those things to work. But nonetheless, I call up the boy and I say, "Hey, how are you?" He says, "Hey, Rabbi, what's doing?" I said, "Great. Come out tonight, Seder tonight. We're serving sushi. I want to talk to you over some sushi." What do you say? He says, "Cool." I say, "Yeah, cool." Yeah. And he comes over. And we're there in the middle of the tempura sushi, and we're talking, and we're chilling, and, And then sure enough, I said, "So tell me a little bit about yourself. What are you into?" He says, "I play the electric guitar." I said, "Get out, really? You too?" I mean, whatever. I said, "Tell me, so, what's going on?" He says, "Well, I'll tell you the truth. My parents are ready to throw me out of the house. They want me to give it up. I can't. It's me. I'm loving it. And they're telling me I'm a nothing and a nobody, and I'm never going to be anything, and I'm never going to make a nickel in my life. And how come I can't go out like everybody else and do big stuff in life, like selling cell phones?" I said, I hear. So I said, but the truth is maybe you can relax it a little bit. Like you don't have to literally be married to it all 24 hours. It could be like 23 and then next week 22. And, we can kind of work life into the guitar. He says to me, yeah, he says, I would do that. But listen to me, Rabbi, you're not getting it. He says, I recently played the guitar and I took a video of myself. And I put it up online. And I got 32,000 likes. And right now I have 12,000 followers. And they're begging me for another video. At home, I'm a nobody. Online, I'm a rock star. Where do you think this kid is going? How long do you think it's going to take? He found his world. And he told his parents, I found my world. It's a nice way of saying that you are no longer a part of it. Shema Yisrael, what is going on? What about that young lady, that wife, that came to me the beginning of this year, right after a Shabbat class? She said, Rabbi, can I just talk to you for a minute? I just want to run something by you. I want to see if it's a problem or not. I said, yeah, okay, what's up? She says, well, I'll tell you the truth. My husband, he's always traveling. He's constantly 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year going back and forth to China. I hardly see him. I'm basically living on my own. And even when he's home, he's not really home. His brain is still in the factories in China. Even by supper, he's texting his factories. He's not there. So I'm basically living alone, like a roommate. I got terribly lonely. So recently, I started putting pictures up online, and suddenly, I found a whole new world of friends. And literally, there are people out there that love me. And they're giving me so much attention. Instantaneous. At the moment I put something up, I get so much positive feedback at home. I feel like a fly on the wall. Online, I feel like a celebrity. Now, when my husband comes home from China, it doesn't even matter to me. We spend time, we don't, big deal, I don't need him. I have a new world. Ay. Ladies, I'm holding back the tears. You're looking at a destruction of the Bayit, not the Bet HaMikdash of 2,000 years ago, but the Bayit of today, the Jewish home. It's being torn apart. Or maybe like that young lady that, 2 years ago I got a frantic call from parents that their daughter, 26 years old, ran off with a guy that she met in Starbucks. He makes lattes for a living. And she decided he is the best guy in the world to spend her life with. A girl from us to run off with a goy. We miraculously tracked down this girl. That's a story in itself, is a miracle. And we got the girl on the phone, and I was able to talk to her. And I said to her, what are you doing? What are you doing? You ran off with a goy from Starbucks. What are you doing? And she said to me, Rabbi, I love your classes. And I came to you for many years. You I can talk to honest and open. And I'm going to tell it to you straight, Rabbi. I started dating when I was 17, 18. In the beginning, the name started to flow. There was always phone calls. It was always busy. I started to date 1, 2, 3 guys. But then suddenly it slowed down. And then there was a dry spell. And then nobody called anymore. And then as time went on, my parents turned on me. They started telling me, there's something wrong with you. That's why they're not calling. And you must be too picky. And they started putting crazy pressure on me. And any ridiculous name that they knew wasn't for me, they started pushing and pushing to go out with. And they told me, you better give the guy another chance. You better give the guy another shot. And I felt like I was thrown into forced labor. I felt like I was put on a slave market. I didn't even have a choice of who to go out or who to say yes or no to. And then let's not forget, Rabbi. And don't get me wrong, ladies, there are many wonderful, wonderful shadchanim and shadchaniyot in many communities. But sometimes some shadchaniyot have the tact of a rhinoceros in a china closet. And they say things to people that I cannot believe they've said. And I actually called up some of the shadchaniyot and said, did you really say that? And she said, yeah, Rabbi. I said, wow, you're not even denying it. She says, yeah, I said it. I said, how could you? You're talking to a human being with feelings, with emotions. How could you say that? Who gives you the license to do that? And she says, Rabbi, well, listen, I'm very busy. There's not a lot of guys. I got to be very picky with the girls that I have. And if I find that a girl is being a little bit too this or a little bit too that, I have to tell it to her straight. I said, oh, I see. So regarding you and shadchaniyot, there's no Torah left in Klal Yisrael. She said, Rabbi, after I went through all of that, and there's no guys left that I could find or believe I'm going to go out with, now, I'll tell you the truth. I got so fed up, I said, I don't need this. So I started putting up pictures online to find the world that actually likes me. And wow, did I find friends really fast. To my parents, I'm a problem that they're looking to get rid of at the first shot out the front door. The shadchaniyot, don't ask, don't even go there what they told me. But online, I'm a celebrity. You don't know how many guys were begging to meet up and go out with me. And sure enough, I found one. He's so sweet, right? I don't want to hear it. Your heart has to break. Your heart has to break to hear the destruction of the bayit, the Jewish home, that's going on right now. Oh, but I know what you're going to say. Rabbi, come on. Like the king said to Yirmiyahu, it's just a few people. Yirmiyahu says, no, it's not. It's happening rampant. And it's happening behind closed doors. So I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Rabbi, listen. Not my kid. Not my son. Not my daughter. Not my family. Not my spouse. Not my husband. Not my wife. Oh no. No way. You got the wrong people. Rabbi, you're talking to them. Not me. Really? You want to hear something? I'm about to repeat to you, almost verbatim, a conversation of 8th graders by recess in a prominent girls' elementary school here in Brooklyn. Overheard by their teachers that they didn't know were listening in. Bunch of girls by recess standing around in a circle, talking over the events of the online escapades of the night before. And one girl's telling the other girl, oh boy, this guy thinks you're cute, and this guy this, and this guy that, and this guy said this about you, and we're going to meet up with... And the teachers are listening to this as if not the show. And they're going on, and the teachers couldn't believe their ears. Till finally, one simple, sweet girl in the circle turns around to the head, the girl that was leading the clan, and she says to her, I couldn't get away with any of this if I wanted to. My mother checks my phone every single night. And all of a sudden, all the girls in the circle just burst out laughing. They said, really? Well, you don't think our parents don't check our phones? We got to show you, we got to introduce you to the incognito apps. She says, what? And even the teachers turned around and said, what? What is that? Incognito apps? And suddenly this 12-year-old girl turns into this social media brainiac, and she starts to describe that a year ago, apps came out available to the public, and at that time it was given for the purpose to stop identity theft. So there are certain apps that if in case you lose your phone, the people that find your phone could never find your information on your phone because everything is incognito. It's so well hidden and so put away in a safe of a certain combination that no one in the world can find what's really on your phone except you. This was created for identity theft. And then the Rishaim came along. And they took those incognito apps and they started marketing it to a whole new crowd with a whole new idea. Your phone could be yours. You could run anything behind the backs of anyone, even your spouse. They could check your phone 1,000 times and they won't find a thing. The girls burst out laughing. They turned to the girl and they said, don't worry, we'll show you what to download. We'll hook you up. We'll get you up. Now you can talk and say and go and do whatever you want. No one can catch you anymore. It's impossible. These girls were laughing at their parents. In essence, forgive me for speaking so coarse. But you know what they were saying? They were saying, you are stupid enough to give me this phone, and you're not smart enough to catch me with what I'm doing with it. Yeah. So there are parents at night that think that they beat the system. They think that all the words of the rabbis, it doesn't apply to us. We can give that sixth grader a iPhone, smartphone, and well, they're not doing nothing. We check it every night. Take a look. My kid, they're watching Sesame Street. Really? Really? That's all you found on the phone? Oy, oy, oy. It's a pachad. What's going on out there is a pachad. It's frightening. And we're losing them by the hundreds. That iPhone, that smartphone that you gave your kid in order to be able to call you and to stay in contact with you, you gave them that iPhone, that smartphone for communication purposes. And that's the very device that is going to destroy the communication between you and your kids. How ironic. How ironic. So, Rabbi, what do we do now? The cancer is out. What do we do now? What do we do now? Last year, we knew we had a problem. Last year, the kidnapping was out in the open. Our backs were to the wall. And when there's no way out, we go out, we fight. And boy, did we fight. And we won a war. We won a war. This year, the kidnappings are behind closed doors, behind closed screens, behind incognito privacy apps. We don't have a clue what's going on. The only difference is that last year, the tunnels that came in secretly to Israel was dug by Arabs. And this year, the tunnels that are coming secretly into the hearts of our kids and our spouses were dug by us. And they found a world that loves them more than we can show. And they found a world that follows them more than we have time for. Like the girl said, I'm not giving up my world for nobody. I'm a Rebbe, 11th and 12th grade for many years. And ladies, I want to tell you the truth. Today, you could mete out any punishment you want to a kid in class. They'll be okay with it. You could hit him with a knas of money, although I don't hold it out and I don't do that. You can hit him with detention. No problem, Rabbi, I'll take the detention. You can hit him with anything you want. But God help you if you tell the kid, I'm going to take your phone away. All of a sudden, this kid goes into rage. Rage. It's like you're telling him that you're taking away his first child. It's as if you're telling him that you're taking an infant out of his arms. And the kid gets up, and even the sweetest and nicest, respectful kid to a Rebbe, suddenly something possesses him, where his face turns red, and it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and it's like anything but that, Rabbi. Don't go there, because I'm ready to walk out of yeshiva if you touch my phone. What do they have to hide? If nothing is going on, why the fight? And like Yirmiyahu said, yes, on the outside, Klal Yisrael looks great this year. 2 thumbs up. But on the inside, the kidnappings are happening behind closed doors. And we're losing so many. So what do? What's the answer, Rabbi? There's only one answer to stop this terrible spiral, this terrible cycle. And it's 2 words. Unconditional love. We forgot how to love people. And if they don't feel the love from us, they'll be able to now easily go out and find it somewhere else in an instant moment. 10,000 likes and 32,000 followers love me. I don't need you. We need unconditional love. You see, because this year, ladies, we have a new definition for sinat hinam. Once upon a time, sinas chinam was talked about as hatred, and it still is hatred. Baseless hatred, yes. But now we have a new definition. There's a new boy on the block. We're defining sinat chinam not as hatred anymore, but as indifferent. And by the way, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. We have to show so much love today. And believe me, I've been doing this for 22 years now. We can go to psychiatrists and therapists. We can bring him to whoever you want. It won't make a dent. The one thing that's saving our kids, saving our marriages, saving our families is unconditional love. Because the only way to save somebody is by loving him. And the more you love him that you're not willing to give up, the more you're going to save him. Sinat chinam today is that we're so indifferent. I'm not saying, God forbid, we don't love our children. I'm not saying, chas v'shalom, we don't love our spouses. Of course we love them, but they don't feel it. Because if they felt it, they wouldn't have to look for it outside to strangers. And because they don't feel it, today we have a situation like never before. And we're losing this war. And ladies, I want to make something really clear here. That is the reason why sinat chinam is called sinat chinam. We need ahava. Did you realize I did not say ahavat chinam? There's no such thing as ahavat chinam. There's ahava. You see, when it comes to sin'ah, hatred is very easy to do. Indifference is easy to go by. That's why it's chinam. It's for free. It comes easy. Sin'at chinam. Ahava is not chinam. Love does not come simple. It does not come for free. Love comes with sacrifice. Love comes with connection. Love comes with work. And we lost the art of unconditional Ahavat Israel. And because they're not feeling that unconditional love, they're going out to find it by strangers. We need to bring back the unconditional love to the families of Klal Yisrael and get rid of Sinat Hinam. Get rid of the indifference. Because the minute our kids start feeling that unconditional love, that's the minute that they're happy with what they have. They don't have to look elsewhere. When our spouses feel loved, they have no need to look anywhere else. And that whole charade and smokescreen of what the social media is trying to deliver in a cheap, ego boost way will suddenly realize in their eyes as to be such nothingness. It never can go up against a real love at home. Never. So what does love mean? Could you believe we're actually talking about this? Could you believe this? What does love mean? First, let me tell you what love is not. Love is not the father that comes and tells me, Rabbi, I love my girls. Every time I come home from China, I stop off in Italy and pick up clothes for them. That's not love. That's bribery. That's a cheap copy of a nothingness. You can't buy love. Rabbi, I love my kid. My son, he turned 17, he got his license. I got him a BMW. That's not love. That's bribery. You can never buy love. And your kids are laughing at you because now they know how to play you. And instead of bringing up good kids, we're bringing up spoiled brats. And every time they don't get what they want, they throw a tantrum, and they don't know the word no. And people are scratching their heads now, and they're starting to think, Rabbi, lately I've been realizing that the Shalom Bayit problems are on the rise in the community. Yeah, no kidding. When you bring up spoiled kids, and they throw a tantrum if they don't get what they want, and they don't know what it means for someone to tell them no, you expect them to be able to run a marriage? You expect them to get along with something that the marriage and its essence means to give, and all these kids did was take their whole life? And you're questioning why the marriages are beginning to go down the tubes? That's not love. You want to know what love is? Love is taking your kid to bed at night, and instead of just plopping him on the bed and hitting and run, you sit at the edge of the bed. You talk to your kid for a few minutes. You tell him a few stories. And then right there in front of your kid, you look up to the ceiling of the room and you say, Hashem, thank you. You gave me such a gorgeous kid, such a beautiful kid. Please help me to have the siyata d'shmaya, that I'll be zocheh to see nachat, to watch this little boy or this little girl grow up to be the great person I know they can be. When your kid watches you and listens to this, they say, wow, he loves me. Sit and tell them stories, talk to them. Show them that they come before everyone and everything else. Get off the phone, stop texting, give them 5 minutes. Let them see love. Because that's sacrifice, that's work, that's ahava. Ahava is not chinam. That comes with work, but it pays off. Because that unconditional love gives a child something that no money in the world can. And once they got it, those kids are good. Those kids aren't running outside to strangers to look for a cheap, quick fix. Those kids are good. Those spouses are good. Those families are tight and they're strong. They're strong. They're fortified against the outside world. That's what love is. Love is a mother who's running down Ocean Parkway in the rain under an umbrella, standing there waiting for the bus to come for her kid to come home from school. And the kid gets off the bus and he sees mommy is getting drenched because of them. No, you don't send the chedeme out to the bus stop to pick up your kids. You don't send the maid out to pick up your kids. No. That's not love. You don't have the maid at home picking up your kids while you're by tennis lessons. That's not love. That's indifference. Yeah, sure, honey, I love you. Go ahead, watch Barney. Don't call us, we'll call you. Supper will be ready soon. And the kid looks like, you trying to get rid of me? And one day that kid will find someone who, instead of getting rid of him, is telling him how much they like him. And they'll follow him to the end of the earth. We need the unconditional love back. I remember coming home from yeshiva, 6th, 7th grade in Borough Park. Coming back to Flatbush on the B9. I remember it was snowing. I got off the bus. I came walking home and I didn't feel my toes. I was completely frostbitten and I was shivering. My knees were clacking all the way down the block. And suddenly I look up and I see that my mother is standing on the front step. And she's looking and looking. And then suddenly I realize that she spots me and she starts waving her arms. And my mother's standing there in a house dress with boots. Could you imagine that scene? And she's holding this blanket. She comes running down the block in the snow. And she wraps it around me and she says, oh my God, you're so freezing. And she literally, and Mom, please, you're embarrassing me. The whole neighborhood, I'm almost in high school, don't do it. She said, but you know what that did to me? This woman loves me. She just showed me she'll do it. She was waiting by that window for me to come home for half an hour because it's snowing outside. And it's not, I'm embarrassed, but it's not done there. I come into the house. She has a dry pair of pants waiting by the door. And then she says, wait 1 second. She runs into the kitchen and she takes socks off the stove. She comes running up. If it was up to her, she would rip the pants off and put the... I said, Mama, I can do it from here, Ma. You know what it is to put on a hot pair of socks coming out of a frostbitten snowstorm? Okay, so I was a little spoiled. But that's love. That's love. When you have that love, you have that family, you have everything. You don't need anything else in the world. And you definitely won't need to look for it by strangers. So how do we do this? How do we get them back? How do we save our families from the destruction of the bayit of today? The destruction of the kidnappings that are going on right now behind closed doors, behind closed screens, behind privacy apps. How do we save our families, our spouses, our kids? How do we do this? I'd like to tell you. I'd like to end off with this. A few years ago, I used to drive back and forth from Lakewood to Brooklyn for about 16 years to the Sephardic community where Baruch Hashem blessed me with a wonderful shul and a school. And we used to go back and forth from Lakewood. I would go every day and my wife and kids would come in every Shabbat. One Friday afternoon, the minivan was all packed up and ready to leave to Brooklyn. And suddenly I get a call. Reb David. Nobody calls me Reb David. Rabbi Duvi, I don't know where that came from. But Reb David, nobody calls me Reb David. I said, yeah, who's this? He says, this is Harav so-and-so. I said, oh, I remembered. I know the name. Don't know him. But he's a Rosh Yeshiva of a yeshiva. I said, Harav, was macht der Rosh Yeshiva? How can I help? I tried to use every Yiddish word I knew. What do I owe the honor to this call? Reb David, listen. There's a bacher that's been out on the streets for 3 years. He's been to therapists and psychiatrists and even askanim. Reb David, he hasn't kept Shabbos in 3 years. You think you can meet him for a few minutes? If I send him over to your house in 15 minutes, you think you can sit and talk with him? I said, Rosh Yeshiva, listen, I don't know what you've heard to make this call. I'm not exactly what I think you think. But I'm really based in Brooklyn. I officially live in Lakewood, but I'm in Brooklyn 7 days a week. You need somebody here in Lakewood that really works with these guys, that could help him, because this is a round-the-clock job, and it takes a lot of follow-up and a tremendous amount of love. And if you're not there to deliver it, it's not going to work. Reb David, nonetheless, please, it's a mace mitzvah. I have nobody else. I tried everybody. Please. No matter what I said, he would not take no for an answer. Till suddenly I realized, I said to myself, Rosh Yeshiva, let me just ask a question. Is it possible that this boy is related to you? There's silence on the phone. And then his voice cracks. He says, yeah, this is my son. I said, oh, if that's the case. Kirachem aval banim. I can't say no to you. Send them over. What are you going to tell? I don't know what I'm going to tell him. I don't have a clue. MS, I don't. But the Eibishter will put the words in I don't know. Send them over. 15 minutes later, there's a knock on my front door. I ran outside to the minivan. Hazita, my wife, is sitting there ready to leave to Brooklyn after she packed up the entire minivan with suitcases, and she's done this back and forth for 16 years. It's only because of her. Hashem should bless her. I went into the car. I said, honey, I think everyone should come back inside. We're not going anywhere yet. She says, why? I said, I got a call that I have to take care of a boy. She says, all right. She knows she married a nutcase. It was part of the ketubah. We come back inside, and as I said, 15 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and I open the door, and there's standing a kid, about 16 years old, and he has his sheepish little smile, and he's wearing a heavy metal t-shirt with jeans ripped by the knees. And he has a little bit of a hair thingy going on his shoulders. And he has a bandana right across his forehead. Like the 70s look a little bit. And I said, hey, how are you? And he looks at me and he's looking at me up and down like this. And he says, are you the rabbi that I'm supposed to be meeting? I said, yo, bro. Who you calling rabbi? You got to go easy with those words. We're just going to just hang and chill for a few minutes. It's not like that. He said, oh, really? I said, yeah, come on in. We come in, we sit down on the couch together. I grab him a drink. We start talking back and forth. And he says to me, so you're going to start telling me about God and about Shabbos and about tzitzis? I said, no. Listen, I think you're a great kid. I just want to chill with you a few minutes and let's just talk about, the world. I said, okay. And we're talking. Till finally in the mid-conversation I said, tell me, what are you passionate about? Well, what do you love to do? Where's your heart? What makes you tick? And he says to me, I play the saxophone. I said, get out, no way. You play the saxophone, really? He says, yeah. I said, I'm looking you over, I think you're good. He says, I am good. I said, really? Wow, okay. Listen to me, kid. You're going to pick yourself up right now. You're going to walk right out that door. You're going to go, you're going to get your saxophone, and you're going to come back here to this house, and you're going to play me something. His jaw dropped. He said, what? I said, you heard me. Go get the saxophone. You got 15 minutes to be back here. I'm dying to hear you play. I think I'm looking at a star. I just got to hear it for myself. Kid looked at me like he couldn't believe his ears. He shrugs his shoulders. He says, okay. He walks right out the door. Now, ladies, listen up well. I want to be very open and honest with you. These days I hear people are out there giving courses on Kiruv. I didn't know Kiruv is something you can teach. Kiruv is something that everyone possesses. It all depends on one thing. Either you love him or you don't. That's it. I gave you the whole course in one sentence. And they'll tell you everything they'll tell you. And that's great. But the truth, either you love him or you don't. Either you have it or you don't. Because in the Kiruv courses they tell you, the minute you get your hand on that kid, don't ever let him go. I heard this from a bunch of guys. Don't ever let him go. Because chances are you'll never get another shot at him. I hear. So I guess I just broke the first rule. And because of that, I was sitting there on the couch with my Tehillim, and I started praying. I said, Borei Olam, please, I threw you the ball, throw it back. Minash Shamayim. 15 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. I go to the door, I open the door, and there he is, the sheepish kid, the same heavy metal t-shirt and same ripped jeans, but this time he has this funky little hat backwards, and he's holding this saxophone like a mother holds a newborn baby. And he was gripping it like, this is my life. And I looked at him, I said, wow, look at that, look how that shines, it's gorgeous, and it looks good on you. Come in here, let me hear your music. And the kid comes walking in like he was 6 feet tall. I turned to my wife and I said, okay, honey, listen, we're going downstairs to the basement. No matter what you hear, don't call the cops. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And she looked at me like, I said, don't worry. So me and the saxophonist, we go down to the basement, we close the door. He starts tuning up. I said, this kid can really play. I said, okay, I want to hear your best, buddy. Let me hear something good. And he looks at me and he says, no, Rabbi, I want a song from you. I want to play you a song. You play me a song. Okay, give me a minute, let me think. Okay, you play Mordechai ben David, Let My People Go. There's a great saxophone on that. He looks at me, Mordechai who? I said, so you don't know Jewish music? Rabbi, get real, are you serious? I said, well, I'll tell you the truth, I don't really know English music much, so I guess you're just going to have to play something. He says, no, I want to play you a song. You got to know some song. I said, I don't know any English music. And I'm racking my brain, and he starts saying, do you know this? Do you know that? And I said, no, I never heard of it. At least up here on tape, I will not admit to it. I have kids to marry, So finally, I'm racking my brains, and I thought to myself, and I said, whoa, I got it. I remember 10, maybe 12 years ago, when I was coming home, one time from the city, and I was in high school. There was a big abed, a big black guy that got on the train. And he had this really cool gig where instead of just going and asking people for money, he sang. So he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sing you a song, and then I'll come around for your contributions. I said, oh, this is going to be interesting. There's nothing more interesting than a train ride from the city to Brooklyn. So this guy gets up and he starts singing this song, and it was really catchy. As a matter of fact, he got everybody in the car into it, and everyone started clapping together with him. And I said, I remember the chorus because it was kind of easy. It was the same words over and over again. And I said it was something like, lean on me. Don't sing it. And he looks at me, the kid, and he says, wow, Rabbi, that's a great pick. That's a great song. And there's a great sax on it. I said, okay, great, let's do it. So the kid starts playing the song. And he's getting into it. And then after 30 seconds, he stops and he says, wait 1 second. You're not singing. I said, me? I speak for a living. I don't sing. He says, no, come on, Rabbi, you gotta sing. I'm playing, you sing. I said, are you serious? He says, yeah. I said, oh, Lord, if my wife hears this is the end of it. I said, he says, yeah. I said, okay, I only know the chorus. I only know the high part. He says, go ahead, start singing. I said, okay. So he starts playing, and I'm singing, lean on me. And he's playing, and I'm singing, and he's playing, and he's getting into it, and he's getting into it. And this kid is working up a sweat. And he was amazing, by the way. He was so good and so taken that literally he went back on his back on the back of a little Tyke's kitchen set, and he's kicking his feet in the air like he's in Carnegie Hall, and he's playing that saxophone like literally Lincoln Center, here we come, and I'm singing Lean On Me. To imagine that at the end of the day. And then we stop. He stands up. And he puts down the saxophone. And he walks up to me. And he gives me such a hug. I'll never forget that hug. And he didn't say one word to me. And I didn't say one word to him. And quietly, we both walked upstairs. He walked out the front door. I went out into the car. And my wife took one look at me. And she said, seriously? What are you going to do next, Superman? And we pulled out of the driveway, and we were on our way to Brooklyn, and I thought that was it. We got to Brooklyn. We went through the same ordeal. Half an hour before Shabbat began, my phone rang. I picked it up. Reb David! I said, uh-oh. Reb David, what did you say to my son? I said, you really want to know? Reb David, did you speak to my son about Shabbos? No. Did you speak to my son about the Ribbono Shel Olam? No. You spoke to my son about tefillin, mitzvahs? No. So what did you say to my son? I said, lean on me. Reb David, I don't understand what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. But Reb David, listen to me. I don't know what you said. But I just want to tell you something. A half an hour ago, there was a knock at the door, and my wife was in the kitchen preparing for Shabbos. And the Rosh Yeshiva said that he ran to the front door and he opened the door. And then the Rosh Yeshiva says, my son was standing at my door for the first time in 3 years. He said, my son looked up at me and he said, Abba, it's been 3 years. I think it's long enough. I haven't kept Shabbos once in 3 years. I want to come home to Shabbos. I want to spend Shabbos with you. Reb David, what did you say to my son? You talked to him about the Ribbono Shel Olam? No, not yet. You spoke to him about Shabbos? No, not yet. What did you say? I spoke to him about his saxophone. Because the secret, ladies, is to connect first and then preach. But it has to be with unconditional love. When we have that unconditional love, when we have that feeling for somebody, our kids won't need anybody else. Our spouses will laugh at social media. Such a cheap, strange, outside, quick, will never go up against the home of a Jew. Ladies, before we talk about rebuilding the Bayit of the Bet HaMikdash, let's rebuild the Bayit of the Jewish home. Because the moment we do that, that's the moment that we got our kids back. That's the moment that we got our spouses back. Our marriages become better. Our homes become solid. That's a love in Klal Yisrael that is unmovable. That's the moment that when the bayit of the home is strong, that's the moment that we're going to be zocheh to the third bayit shelishi. Bimhera biyamenu. Amen.
Okay, the Chafetz Chaim video will now be played upstairs. Whoever would like to join us for the Chafetz Chaim video A, it will be playing upstairs in 2 minutes.